Hey everyone, happy to be back talking to you, talking Bills football amongst these crazy, wild, and unique circumstances that the world is facing. Probably the most unique set of circumstances that I've ever faced in my lifetime. Perhaps you feel the same way. And obviously I want to talk to you about Bills football, about trading for Stefon Diggs, and Tom Brady retiring, the free agency, the draft, all that stuff. But I would feel remiss if I didn't at least say something about this current situation that we're facing, because it's not only affecting the sports world, obviously, it's affecting the entire planet, really. And it's just, I'm not going to try to flip you one way on the political spectrum or anything like that. All I really want to say is that it's so easy to get wrapped up in the negativity of it, because all you have to do is flip on Twitter or Facebook or whatever and just one scroll and like negativity, just constantly. And it costs nothing to be optimistic and just hope the best for people. To really find positive information, you just got to go one click beyond the negativity, really. Maybe 2 clicks. Within a minute or two, you can find positive numbers and positive trends. I just don't understand these people that go on the internet all day and just scour it, fishing for bad news, and they find bad news and they post it, and they like to play the blame game and do this. That in and of itself is a virus. That's a virus. That's an outbreak that is contagious. Bad news, post it, doomsday scenarios. That's kind of like sports in a way. Like why would anybody want to watch Alabama play New Mexico State? Or like in 2007 when the Patriots played the Bills and won 56-10 on Sunday Night Football. You like to watch carnage, and you just like to watch teams get obliterated. And like that's fine in sports because it's life, but it's real, but it's not real life, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. But to apply that to your everyday life and almost seem like you're rooting for bad things to happen, like, miss me with that stuff all day, every day. Like I said, that is a real viral outbreak that I'm taking away. It's so simple to wish the best for people, to hope the best, to be kind to people about it, and it's really not that hard to find positive trends and positive numbers. Now that we're into, we're heading in mid-April here. I get why you might have been a little bit gloomy at first, but every updated chart and everything just. It sucks for the people that are affected by it directly. I understand that, and I feel for those people, but there's definitely reason to be an optimist. Anyway, I'm sorry I took, a lot of the time there. It's, 2.5 minutes into the video, 3 minutes into the video now. Obviously, I want to talk to you about Bills football. So let's start there, and actually, let's not start there. Let's start with Patriots football, because Tom Brady is out of the AFC East for the first time since basically the turn of the century. So for the first time since the turn of the century, somebody not named Tom Brady or Chad Pennington will win the AFC East. And that is not exaggeration. That is a fact. The only people who have won the AFC East since Tom Brady has taken over for the Patriots are Tom Brady, Chad Pennington with the Dolphins once, Chad Pennington with the Jets once. That is it. So we will crown a new division champion in 2020 at hopefully team, but definitely at quarterback. And if I don't really know how that situation came to be for the Patriots, I think that Schefter has been on it since like week 4 of this past season. He was saying, I'm telling you, Tom Brady's leaving. He's selling his house and this and that. Jeff Darlington has been on it as well. And, dating back to even a couple years ago, I think it might have been Seth Wickersham. I'm not totally sure of that. They wrote the article about Garoppolo and Belichick. Like, Belichick was ready to move on from Brady and start Garoppolo. He wanted to succeed there. But Kraft basically, put his fist down and was like, we're sticking with Tom. Tom does everything for us, yada, yada. Trade Garoppolo now. And, where there's smoke, there's fire. There might be some exaggerated truths to that, but I'm sure there's still truths, is my point. So maybe that situation with Belichick and Brady just sort of came to a head, and the relationship is irreparable at this point. So Brady's like, I got to move on. He met with Kraft, and basically they said it was like an emotional conversation, but he's like, I just got to go. So that's what he's doing. So Tom Brady in a different uniform, in a Tampa Bay Bucks uniform, He's out of the conference. We got Tom Brady out of the conference. So, what do? You go for it. You full send if you're the Bills. So, Tom Brady hadn't announced his decision when the Bills traded for Stefon Diggs, but trading for Stefon Diggs is that full send type of move. The Bills give up a first-round pick, I believe a fifth, a sixth, and then a fourth next year. I believe that was what it was. Was it a fourth and fifth this year or fifth and sixth this year? I think it was fifth and sixth. Yeah, fifth and sixth, because it was the picks they gave up or acquired for Wyatt Teller and for Russell Bodine. So they essentially traded, a first-round pick, Russell Bodine, Wyatt Teller, and next year's fourth for Stefon Diggs. And a seventh. Okay. So, I mean, if the DeAndre Hopkins trade hadn't happened just a couple hours before, nobody would be, saying that the Bills gave up too much or anything. But you just can't take that into account because, I mean, Bill O'Brien is, wow. I mean, I have nothing else to say about Bill O'Brien. This is not a Texans video. I'm just not going to say anything about it. But wow. Okay? That is just unique and just super unique in and of itself. All right? The Bills really didn't overpay for Diggs. They traded their first-round pick. Sure. Is that a steep price? Is it? You think it is, but is it really a steep price? Because here's something. You traded 22 overall for Stefon Diggs. At best case, what does 22 overall become? Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins maybe. But if he turns out to be Stefon Diggs, that's pretty good. So why don't you just go get Stefon Diggs? He's 26 years old. He's been in the league. He's had success in the league. He's got 4 years under contract on a team-friendly deal. At $12 million, there'll probably have to be some sort of extension or maybe restructure at some point. But this just makes so much sense to me. And so I don't really understand the people that are, saying the Bills gave up too much. Because that pick should turn into Stefon Diggs. I mean, maybe the report that I read was that the Bills were in on T. Higgins until they saw his pro day workout, and they were like, no, we don't really want that type of player. And we don't really want him. And that's fine. T. Higgins might turn out to be a fabulous player in his own right, but I think they realized that they were not going to get Henry Ruggs, and they were not going to get Jerry Jeudy, and they were not going to get CeeDee Lamb. And T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson maybe, those are the next couple of guys. And maybe they just weren't there. They just were we'd rather just have Stefon Diggs at essentially the same price. So that makes total sense to me. The people that have gone further to criticize it have criticized it because of Josh Allen. And there is some truth to that, or some credibility to that argument. But with Josh Allen, I said it in the end of my year-end video a couple of months ago. Allen is the number one thing that the Bills can improve on. You look at the roster. The roster's pretty filled out. I'll talk about the defense in a little bit here. But it's a really good roster. So you're where are the weaknesses? Some people might be defensive end, edge rusher. Okay, well, yeah, I know. But the weakness isn't necessarily Josh Allen. But that's where they need the most improvement. That's where they can improve. Josh Allen improved on his completion percentage from the year before, which was very poor, obviously. But he improved this year. He cut back on the interceptions, all while maintaining, his threat in the running game. He totaled 29 touchdowns, had over 3,000 yards passing, just over 3,000 yards passing, and was still very, like I said, very effective in the running game. So if he makes that next jump in his rookie contract, the Bills are really poised to be a threat here. I don't think there's any arguing that they did the most to help themselves in the AFC East before the draft, at least. The Dolphins did a pretty good job. They stole a Landon Roberts and Van Noy from the Patriots. Obviously, Coach Flores has some familiarity with them there, from his time in New England. And they signed Shaq Lawson. They did a pretty good job. And they won, what were they? They were 0-7 last year, and they finished, 5-11. So they did it was really a tremendous job towards the end of the season by the Dolphins. So I'm not ready to completely write them off. They are in a really good position to draft a quarterback, whether that's Justin Herbert or Tua. That remains to be seen, or maybe a trade up for Burrow, but I doubt Cincinnati is looking at giving away that pick. That would be really foolish, I think, even though Miami would have to give up a lot. But Miami has 3 first-round picks and 5 of the first 56 picks. So they're positioned pretty well. I don't know if that'll all, you have to hit on those picks, and they have to, draft develop, and that might be a tough thing to do with no off season really this year. With looking like it's angling definitely towards no OTAs, maybe some mini camps in June. That remains to be seen, and we'll see what happens with training camp or with the season altogether at this point. But that reminds me kind of like the Diggs thing in a way. That makes sense to me because trading for Diggs, because you get your first round pick, you can't even really bring him in and work him out and put him through a rookie mini camp and anything. So just get somebody who's already conditioned to the NFL, already a good player in the NFL, and they still have six draft picks on top of it. They have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right, or something like that. Maybe even 7 picks. They have 2 in the 6th. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. I should have it right next to me, but I don't, and I apologize. So, I said, we talked about the Patriots, we talked about the Dolphins. Patriots lost a bunch of players. They lost Van Noy and Roberts, like I just said, to the Dolphins. They lost Jamie Collins as well. Who'd they sign? Bo Allen. They still have no receivers. Demir Bird, they signed. Like, it's Harry and Edelman, but with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback right now. Maybe they bring in Cam Newton. But they can't give him a physical right now. Maybe they trade for Andy Dalton, but why wouldn't they have done that already, I suppose? Maybe they're going with Jarrett Stidham. Is he going to use James White the same way Tom Brady did? Like, what are the Patriots right now? They're such a wild card. If I had to bet right now, they probably somehow still win 10 games just because they're New England. But, they seem to be on the decline. The Dolphins are kind of on the come up, but are they ready to win 10 games now? The Jets, who knows? Who knows? They're trying to rebuild the line, but I think they're overpaying average players. They should be better on did I say D-line? I meant offensive line. I think they're overpaying average players. They should be better on the offensive line and protect Darnold better. And they did a pretty good job. They were like 1-7, and they finished with a couple wins. They had a couple bad losses in there, but they had a couple nice wins this season as well. So I'm not writing off the Jets completely. I just think the Bills are the most positioned right now to take over that division. And obviously they have a bit tougher of a schedule this year, and I don't usually like taking the schedule into consideration, but there's tough quarterbacks on there. They have the Kyler Murray Cardinals on the road, and they got DeAndre Hopkins now. They have Russell Wilson coming to Buffalo, Jared Goff and the Rams with minus Gurley. They seem to be maybe on the decline, and then obviously they have to visit the Niners. Mahomes is coming here. There's some tough games, tough quarterbacks on the schedule for the Bills. But I can't blame them for going after this right now, taking advantage of Josh Allen's rookie contract, basically finding out if Josh Allen is their guy. This is it. Like, they've given him everything. They brought back Quentin Spain on the offensive line. They have all of the offensive linemen back from last year. They have Brown. They have Beasley in the slot. Now they have Diggs on the outside. They ran that 11 personnel, that 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, like 80% of the time or something like that over the last half of the season. Maybe those last 6 or 7 weeks. But that is just, to me, that's your ideal personnel. Diggs, Brown, Beasley, Knox, Singletary, Allen. Like, if Allen doesn't succeed this year, you have to at least, be open-minded to the idea of replacing him. And, it seems quick or anything, but, it'd be, the 3rd year. He won 10 games last year, threw for 3,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, cut back on the turnovers, played in a playoff game. If now with an extra playoff spot even, because there's 7 playoff teams in each conference now with 3 wild cards, I think this is they have to be. The Bills have to be in the playoffs, without question. And obviously you want to see them take that next step and win a playoff game. I would love to see them win the division, get a home playoff game, because that would be so fun. Such a fun experience for the fans. Haven't had a home playoff game in almost 25 years now, so that would be a great experience. This is it. The Bills are going for it, guys. They're going for it. And all I've talked about so far is the offensive side of the ball. They still have the defensive side, and kind of touching in with the struggles of not having rookies being able to come in and visit you, and not necessarily just having this abbreviated offseason where you really can't reach out to the players. What does McDermott do? He goes out and gets 4 guys that he knows. Not only, I didn't even mention Darrell Williams on offense, but Vernon Butler, Mario Addison, Josh Norman, A.J. Klein. Those are 4 guys that he had in Carolina, 2 of them on the defensive line, and they brought the defensive line coach from Carolina, Eric Washington. They brought him over, so there's familiarity there. So, like, I'm assuming that they can get these playbooks and like everything to these guys virtually, or send it to them somehow. So it's all on iPads and stuff now anyway. So they probably see it and they're like, oh yeah, I remember this. They all have familiarity with McDermott and McDermott's scheme, system, whatever terminology you want to use, for basically the defense that the Bills run. So you're looking at Josh Norman possibly starting alongside Tre'Davious White, A.J. Klein stepping into that role for Lorenzo Alexander, strong side linebacker, and Mario Addison taking the role of Shaq Lawson's, Vernon Butler stepping in there taking the role of Jordan Phillips, Quentin Jefferson they signed from Seattle, he's also in the fold now as well. So they have a bunch of free agents in there on like 2-year deals, 3-year deals, which is just smart again because I guess the TV contract is coming up, so there will be more money, salary cap increases in a couple of years because of that influx of TV money. So, I mean, this is just a great job all around by Brandon Beane, and you don't have to. There's he has such a cult following on Twitter, and it's hysterical to see like the Beane memes and things like that. But I'm not criticizing him by any means. It's just that it's so refreshing. It's very refreshing to have this guy that appears to know what he's doing with the salary cap, with roster building, and it's just great. And it seems like such a gargantuan thing because of the ineptitude of the guys that have been in that job before. They didn't really have much to live up to, so anything seems like a home run. And these guys are really knocking it out of the park with the fans. And they've been in the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. We're really at the point where we're expecting it this year. So they've built a roster that is, I talked about it even last year in training camp, is tough to make. Like, they are pushing guys out. Like, they have good players pushing good players, not for starting spots, for roster spots. Like, E.J. Gaines is another one. Familiarity with the system. They brought him back. Like, that it has to be part of it. Beane has talked about it a little bit, not necessarily at length, but definitely talked about it a little bit. Guys with familiarity with the system and stuff. And, veterans. Not necessarily just rookies because they traded the first round pick. They're going to bring in more players in the draft, like 6 more players that are going to push for roster spots. Like, you are going to have guys cut from this team that you are like, oh, I thought he would contribute. I thought that would be a thing. Like, he was an important depth player for them. Look at the wide receiver room just for example. Diggs, Beasley, Brown, Roberts probably makes the team. McKenzie is back. Foster is still there. I'm missing one. Ray McLeod is still there. Who am I missing? Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Like they're just like, who is pushing the room is pretty much spoken for. It seems like, and you can't really say the tight end room. They restructured Croft's contract. I don't think they were originally going to keep him, but they restructure him and keep him in the fold, and they void the 3rd year of his deal. So it's like Croft, Sweeney, and Lee Smith, and Dawson Knox obviously going to start. Like, that room is full. So like these are all good things. And who are they going to target in the draft? More guys to come in and push? I'm not entirely sure. I think that most people would agree that outside of wide receiver, the number one need for the Bills was edge rusher. And they brought in these defensive linemen. They play on a rotating basis to begin with, and they brought in more like Addison and Jefferson and Butler. But they're all here. There's not too much youth there. They have Murphy, whose contract is expiring. They don't necessarily have to be committed to these free agent signings past this year or 2 years. So I'm sure they want to get younger on the defensive line because all they really have right now is Harrison Phillips and Ed Oliver. Latulele looks like he's definitely going to be here this year the way they restructured his deal. Probably even next year too. Not entirely sure of that. So they probably want to get younger on the ends, and maybe they'll look at defensive ends or maybe like linebackers because they don't necessarily have to be committed to A.J. Klein really past this year. So maybe they look at like a Jordan Brooks from Texas Tech or who's the guy from Wyoming? Logan something? I had it. I should have it right next to me. I apologize. I'm sure they would love a corner Like, they don't have to be, like, Norman's probably on a 1-year thing. They don't necessarily have to be committed to Levi Wallace beyond this year. So maybe they'll look for, like, a Jeff Gladney to follow them, or Bryce Hall. Bruce Hall used to be a running back for the Bills in training camp. Bryce Hall could fall to them. Maybe they're looking for that type of player. I think it's going to be defense, though. I do think it's going to be defense, like a defensive end and or linebacker would be my guess, unless one of those top corners kind of slips into their lap in the second round. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you obviously for coming this far into the video. Clearly you can tell I'm super excited about this upcoming season, and I think you should be too. I think you probably are. I think we're really expecting that next stride from Josh Allen. We hear the hate, we hear the outside noise, we see the videos of him overthrowing people and whatnot, but at least he's not underthrowing people for interceptions. I mean, he left a lot of touchdowns on the field last year. I don't think anybody would debate that. However, touchdowns. Literally touchdowns. He had guys beating people down the field. Duke Williams, that's who I meant. That's who it was in the wide receiver room. Diggs, Brown, Beasley. Duke Williams might make the team again. Foster, McKenzie, Roberts, McLeod. Wow, they're probably not keeping 7, right? They're gonna push people out the door. This is exciting. Bills have a good roster, a tough roster to make. The Buffalo Bills are a hard team to make. Can't always have said that in years past. This is exciting. Guys, hit me up on Twitter. Obviously, there's not a lot going on right now. We don't have a ton to talk about, but hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Can't wait for the draft, despite the fact that we don't have a first-round pick. Virtual draft, that's going to make it super interesting. I really can't wait to watch. Anyway, guys, hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. As always, above all else, go Bills.